Blackshun asks, I'd like to know how to do this kind of backgrounds. Let me zoom in there. The question is kind of broad, but I think we can do a little sample here to you know, have some points in mind. So let's do a new layer, and I'm gonna make a little section here. I'm not gonna do the whole background, but at least I'll mention how I would go about it. First thing is to, if you know what color setup you're gonna go for, at least in terms of light, what kind of lighting scenario you would have, and you would know ahead of time, will always help with building up a background. So that would be the main thing. Where is the character located, or where is the place located? What is the light setup for the scene? And third point would be mood, right? So in this case, it's a winter scene. Obviously there's like mountains, he's above the clouds, by the looks of it, and it's a very diffuse, very soft lighting to it, because we don't, in this image's case, the artist didn't want to oh, actually it's Mike, yeah, there you go, Mike didn't want the background to overpower the character, because the character is the main focal point. So we're gonna start with sort of the mid-tone blue. This might be a little much, I'm gonna be honest. There you go, a mid-tone blue. And first thing I would recommend is to figure out, when you're trying to figure out the mood, at least it would be good to add some gradients, just to know like your light setup. But you don't want to spend too much time on this, because you're going to be drawing the elements first. But the sort of lighting they have is this, where it's dark gradient from the top, and then this would be the light setup. I'm gonna go ahead and make a layer underneath. Let's see, we're gonna make some flats above. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna make some flat shapes first. Try to make this a bit more, there you go, saturated. Make some flat shapes first, and that's how I would build the scene initially. We're gonna bring this, we're gonna lose some of this gradient. Don't worry too much about it, because we'll bring it back. It's just to have an idea initially. But you want to first sculpt out the shapes, whatever elements you want to have in your image. Now is the time to add them, right? So we have a couple of mountains here in the back. You can't quite see, but I think it goes all the way like so. Yeah, behind the character. Actually, this might be the opposite. It seems like this might be in front of the other one. So all right. And now, so we have one mountain, we have another mountain. I should have kept these two separate, so let's actually do that before I even do anything. Let's keep these two layers separate. That's one thing you want to keep in mind, is always have, when constructing background elements, you want, the bigger the element, the more you should think whether or not you should keep it on a separate layer, right? So for example, now I'm gonna add the clouds, right? And these clouds is a big element on the image, therefore actually maybe not the clouds, I'll do the spikes first. Either way, it should be fine, but I'm gonna keep those elements separate as well. And another thing to keep in mind is local value of the thing you're painting. So my version of this is a bit too far, a bit too close, sorry. So I'm gonna push it back a little bit, and I'm gonna tint it with the background. So anytime you push something into the atmosphere, it's always tinted with the background more and more. So we're gonna do a little bit of that. There you go. And now we have the spikes, so it's gonna get closer to us, not that saturated, pretty desaturated. We have them like here, you know, and at first it's all going to be flat, is what I would generally recommend, because it's just easier to set it up this way. You can use line art, you can use, chances are that Mike does use line art a lot, but he also does a lot of shapes mainly. So I'm just gonna like sort of like do that, and then we'll go over with how dark is this? It needs to be a little bit darker. There you go. And now this one's in the center. I'm gonna brighten them up just a touch, and I'm gonna like add them here, right? Because that's sort of like the, then as far away as further it goes into the background, you need to keep adjusting the lightness, or at least the base lightness of it, of the element that you're painting. What's up, Damien? Hello. How do you link it? Did my question pass? I'd have to go and check. I definitely answer every single question though. No question is missed. So we're gonna keep in mind obviously proportions and how far it is, but again, this is closer to us than the mountain is, therefore it's always going to be darker, at least the local value. I don't want to make this area is a bit too dark. I'll probably need to brighten it up, but regardless, I'm gonna keep doing this a bit darker. And the reason why you want to keep it in layers is because we're going to be adding a lot of glow, a lot of gradient to it. That's going to be a key element to this. But as of now, you're prepping the canvas with whatever elements you really want to add to your canvas. All right. So I'm going to do this one. Like maybe I'll add one here that's like closer to us. I'm not really following the image, just roughly. More focus on the process. Okay, so we have these obviously in the very foreground. We have the darkest shape, which sort of like we can add it here. Wait, I'll do it on a different layer. We can add it here, sort of goes like that, and let's say this is it, which is, you know, I'm trying to include all of the elements into this tiny image. Next up is the I said fog, but it really isn't fog. Actually, I just noticed one thing. We should probably keep going down like so, because we can see some of the shapes. There you go, like that. All right. Then we're gonna have the clouds go over it. All right, that's good enough. Hey, what's up, Cinnamon? How are you doing? I will DM the photo with the question. Damien, have a link to your image. If you guys have a picture locally, upload it to Imager and then ask the question in the chat along with the link. If you can't find the same image that you have locally on your PC online, then that's the easiest way to go about it, other than DMing. I do need you guys to post the questions in the chat. So question plus Imager link if you don't have the link to the actual image online if it's a local file. If it isn't a local file, then just a link direct to where you found the image is fine. I said this. Okay, wait. I'll read the rest in a second. Let me continue here. All right. So now it's gonna be the clouds. The clouds. I already added like the background for it is sort of acting like the clouds. However, I will want to make it just a little bit darker. There you go. And now the clouds will be definitely brighter. Yeah. Okay. Now for the clouds, I'm going to use a soft brush. I believe this was painted normally initially, and then areas have been blurred out with, well, the blur tool or something along those lines. Again, everything is sort of tinted blue. It's very monochromatic. I'd say that the clouds are the least saturated part of the whole image. All right. So I'm just gonna go around and give a bit of a glow to everything first, like so. I will say that because it's grayer, these clouds will feel warmer just because of the saturation contrast, and something you definitely want to keep in mind. Also, the size of the clouds as it goes further into the background, into perspective, it's another thing you need to really keep in mind. And at this point, we have the whole image set up, and we can start thinking about texture, we can start thinking about gradient, etc. It's a very simple background. And again, like I said, the main purpose is so that it doesn't compete with the character. So for clouds, you want to make your brush bigger at first. You don't want to go in there and do all these little details first. You want to like get the broader sense of shape. We're going to be cleaning the edges of this in a second. First, draw the broad sense of the clouds, and then we're going to make the soft brush smaller, which in return is going to make it look like it's sharper, because smaller brush equals, it just looks sharper, at least in Photoshop. I'm not sure about how it is on other softwares, but I would say that in all softwares it's generally the same. So now, like, I'm starting to make my brush smaller and going in there and pressing harder, keeping in mind the shapes and how far these clouds would be to us, right? So the further it is going into perspective, into the horizon, then the less detail and flatter will look like. And whatever is closer to us, I'm gonna give it a bit more like perspective to it, more form, you know, care a little bit more about it. At least that's what I'm always keeping in mind. Now, this whole thing is generally the same strength. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock transparency on this layer, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a gradient. So sort of like a dark aqua. There you go. So the reason why I'm doing this is so that the focal point, like the brightest and most contrasting points, are the character. Again, this is an environment to supplement the character, not to compete against it. Let's see. Yeah, if you're a sub, you can upload it to the Silva Decodes room. All right, so I'm just giving it a little bit of a darker tone, and I'm keeping mostly like the brightest points will be directly behind the character so that it contrasts the character the most. Obviously, we don't have a character here, but it is important to note why we're doing the changes we're doing, you know. So there you go. Say, where do I post my question in the picture? Read. Is it really that hard to read? Follow point 1. There's 3 points above. Wait, I'll do one thing. Hold on. Here. There you go. Here. I had it under Silva Decodes channel, but I think it was wrong. Oh, you were a sub back then, right? I'll be honest with you. It got drowned out by the spam, and I completely forgot about it. I will answer your question though, that you posted in there. So Calix, can you go to the Discord and post yeah, put his question into the list. Yes, Pepe hands. He got, I'm sorry, he got drawn out by all the video posting, but I will answer it. All right. So now I'd say this is generally it. There you go. And now I'm just gonna go, you know what? Yeah, now I'm just gonna clean up the edges here a little bit. Where it's a little too glowy. Or too soft, rather. Oh, this is the wrong smudge brush. Where's my smudge brush? Here. All right. Same goes for here. All right. Just doing a little bit of a cleanup, and then we're gonna move on to the backgrounds, the very, very background, because you know, right now the contrast isn't all that great. So the very background should be this. I'm gonna erase here, and we're gonna push back this mountain on the left. Let's work a little bit on that. So I would say that we're gonna add the texture first. We'll add the texture first to it. So like the snow stuff that you see, we're gonna be adding that. So make it brighter, just a little bit more, and a little more blue. There you go. And now you're gonna add the mountain, like, let's make this even brighter. Gonna add like the mountain shapes, right? Of course you want to, I'll say it ahead of time, of course you want to keep in mind the shapes. I'm not gonna go too crazy detailed with it or try to follow it too much because there's other questions still. But Anonymous! Thank you so much for gifting a sub to Woofo. Yeah, someone gifted me PogChamp. I spammed the Krog in so many places. Thank you, Anonymous. Well, there you go. You can spam Krogs in the chat now. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah, so you want to keep in mind the shapes here. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because there's still other questions to be answered. But this is the process that I believe he used, or at least close to, you know. At least by the looks of it. Now, when you do this, we're gonna reintroduce the it's flattening the whole mountain. We're gonna reintroduce the gradients to contrast it against the background back again. But it's always good to introduce this. Actually, maybe with a brush like that. Maybe with a brush without any opacity would be good first. All right, like so. Okay, cool. Let's say this is done. Obviously not, but this is just time to refine. And I'm glad you like the emotes, man. And now we're gonna reintroduce the gradient back, layer set to hard light, which is my favorite. And I'm just gonna go over and blep. There you go. Also, another thing you can do, actually, let me hide this for a second. I just noticed you can introduce a little bit of texture to it, to the to these shapes here, right? So for example, I'm gonna lock the layer so that when I paint on it, because it's on a separate layer, then it's not gonna go, you know, off the lines. So I'm gonna just introduce a little bit of texture. I believe this was most likely done in post, like post processing, once the image was already set up, but we can add it early on too. It's not a big deal. Just a little noise. It should be fine, like that. Okay, and now I'm gonna bring that back. Hard light layer, where is it? Here. Hard light layer. We can go bright and dark. I love it. I truly do love this layer mode. I'm just gonna bring this out, you know, like just it's gone. There you go. We will be doing a gradient above to make it more fuzzy, but I'd say locally this is how it sort of should be. And then what you can do is go back to the background and increase the contrast on the very top. Whoa, here, because it seems like Mike really wanted to. Hello, why is it not? Oh, it's here. Okay, sorry, there was a wrong layer. Looked like Mike really wanted to bring the contrast to the background. Wasn't really like that important. He really wanted to bring that focus to the hammer and the light, so we're gonna keep that and also make it like pretty bright here. And all of these will be now fuzzy, which I'm gonna make a new layer on top of this, and I'm gonna fuzzy it out on the normal layer, like sort of hide these details like so, maybe even darker actually. There you go. And these ones are pretty sharp too, so let's push them back. All right, Mike Azevedo. The lighting can do it in 3 easy steps. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm just gonna go in there. Of course, at the end we can blur out some areas, which we'll do. There you go. And now we'll do the other mountain on the right side, and pretty much, honestly, pretty much the same. It's actually the same thing. So grab that, make lighter markings to it for the snow and stuff. There you go. I'm gonna just roughly put it here and there. You guys definitely should spend time on it though. All right. Okay, let's say that's done. another layer. Whoops. No, actually, let's give it a little bit of texture once again. Just a little bit of texture. There you go, here and there. And now push it all back with hard light layer. Push it into the background. Wait, that's too. There you go. Push it into the background. Sometimes you can try with a saturated color, desaturated color, and see what you like best. This should be good enough. Should be good enough. And then one last step, we'll do what we did with the other one, which is fuzzy it out a little bit so it's not so sharp. There you go. This is on the normal layer. There you go. Okay. So, oh, I see some lightning rather on the background. We can do that in a second. What's up, Jail? Doesn't Photoshop have new particle effects plugin now? I have no idea. I wouldn't focus on that either. Rainick with the sub gift. Thank you so much. Krogs in the chat. Krogs in the chat. Thanks for the gift sub. Damn. Holy shit. You guys are so nice, chat. I cannot believe this. Why are you so kind to me? God dang it. Thank you so much. Hi, Bixie. How are you doing? Hi, Jail. What's up, guys? How are you doing? Hi, Glaive. Hello, hello. Let's see. So after this, the values are pretty much the same, which is the point. The colors are pretty much the same, which is the point. I would probably work a bit more on the in a bit. I'll probably work a little bit more on the clouds, but the base is there. Okay, so these mountains here on the foreground, or in the middle ground and foreground, both. We're gonna do exactly. Honestly, all of this is a rinse and repeat, chat. It's the same thing over and over and over again. So for these ones, we're gonna go ahead and give it a hint. You don't want to go too bright, because if you go too bright on these ones, you'll start like your value grouping, which I explained it to yesterday. Your value grouping will go a little like off the charts, and then it's gonna start blending with the background. So you wanna make it brighter, but not too bright where it blends too much with the background, right? So you wanna still keep most of the silhouette like visible, clearly visible, right? So you can start adding the details of the snow on this tip of the mountains. I am assuming that's what it is. Rainick again with the gift sub. Krogs in the chat. God damn, you're feeling. Holy shit, man. What are you doing? Thank you so much. You guys are the fucking best, chat. Thank you, Rainick. That's super, super kind of you, man. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's continue. Here, we'll add all these little details. All of these will be sort of like blurred out with a little bit of glow to it. Right, and you can be as detailed as you want, like that. I believe these ones don't really have much of a texture, but the edges of it are sort of like accentuated, you know. Krog. We're gonna do the exact same for the other ones further away. It's a little detail here, here too. Actually, we might need it to make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, there you go. little bit brighter on these ones. I'm using just a flat brush for this, like no opacity whatsoever. You don't really need more than that for this type of, you know, this style. It's rather, everything needs to be sort of flat-ish so that the character can be contrasted against it a lot more. Okay, let's say this is good enough. Now we're gonna add the glow. Again, rinse and repeat, exactly what we've done for the mountains. I'm gonna go ahead, and this time I'm not gonna use a hard light. I'm gonna go directly into normal layer mode. Matt, what the hell, chat? With the gift subs, Krogs, holy shit, god damn. Matt, thank you so much. Welcome, welcome. Holy shit, you guys are so nice, thank you. What a cute chat. Biayayas in the chat. You guys are so cute. Thank you so much. Let me add just a little bit more gradient to these. Just to soften them up a little bit. Give a bit of a mood to it, you know. There you go. Please keep in mind that if you are gonna follow these steps, you should spend a lot more time than I am on these, because I'm trying to rush through it while still providing what's necessary. But yeah, I highly would recommend you guys to spend a lot more time in each step, you know, it's each step of the way. I'm gonna do that too here. I'm gonna look at my values, and whatever is further away I need to push it more, and whatever is getting closer to us we are we're keeping in mind the value grouping, right? So this is the darkest, this one will be second darkest, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you know, so we got to keep on sort of pushing here, right? Soften these up. I'm actually gonna bring a dark glow back, and I just noticed here it's a bit, where's the clouds? Okay, clouds layer. We're gonna go back into the clouds layer. I will refine it just a little bit, then add the special effects, and that should be it for this question. It's mostly done. Oh, I forgot about the foreground. I'll do that too, but I'll go in here, do a little bit more detailing to it, right? This is what I would want you to do too. Sort of like separate these shapes better, especially if you have time. There you go. And background coming through surprisingly quickly though. It's yeah, if you do, I mean, first of all, you know, I have the reference right in front of me, so I know exactly what to do. But if you were experimenting, it probably will take you longer than this. But if you know exactly where you're going and what you're doing, then it's relatively quickly. If you already have a process and you know what you're gonna do ahead of time, because that's, and the only way you will know what to do ahead of time is through practice. You know, try to find all of the possible ways to make stuff, and the better you get at it, the faster you'll become, or the faster you'll know what to do by looking. That's why I can kind of do these Silva Decodes, because I tried so many processes that once I look at an image I already have an idea. Okay, first do this, first do that, etc, etc. So yeah, just refining a little bit of the clouds here, not too much, and let's do the very foreground, the foreground lighting and all of its shapes. Where is it? Whoops, sorry. I've been meaning to ask this for a while now. Is that a dwarf? I think it's a dwarf, yeah. I think that is a dwarf indeed. There you go. Looks like one, at least. I'm gonna reshape this here. Then you have the... No, it can't be a dwarf. There's tiny ass... A giant dwarf? A giant dwarf? There's like tiny ass like swords. And like spikes and stuff. You see that? A dwarf god. Yeah, okay, there you go. Alright, so you have the shapes, and all you really do is... I believe this has been done with linear dodge. So I'm gonna make a new layer, set it to linear dodge, and see if that's actually gonna work. If it's not linear dodge, then it's color dodge layer. But I think it's pretty much this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a round brush for this one. So to add... Oh, there's a trick you can do for this, by the way. So have your linear dodge layer set up, but also you can change the mode of your brush. Let me show you. This is something I've shown before in other questions, but I'll show it here too. Whoops, not on this layer. There you go. So right here, there's a whoa, you can't see that. There you go. It says mode on your brush, and right next to it, I would set it to color dodge. So you have a you're double wielding, essentially. You're double wielding. All right. You have layer dodge, and then you have color dodge in the brush. So, and if you do that, what happens is that, let me show you closely, is that I do one brush stroke, it's affecting the linear dodge layer is affecting it, but when I go over it, the brush color dodge mode is going over the linear dodge layer. So why is that important? Why aren't you in Riot already? There's actually some reasons for that. But yeah, I'm not sure if I can disclose them. But yeah, so what you do is, if you keep going over and over and over and over again, you can create this pretty cool like effect, right? So it seems like the image here has a little bit of that. If it doesn't, this is an easy way to get to it in the very least, you know. So I'm just gonna keep going over and over and over again, and it's gonna get brighter and more saturated, which is technically what we need, you know. Right here, there you go. All right, see, and this is also a cool way to make fire, by the way. Like fire effects can be done like that really easily. So I'm just gonna, this might be a little too strong to be honest with you, but you get the point. I can't tell what's the foot, what's the rock, I'll be fully honest with you. But let's just paint a little bit of the shape here. I'll merge it a little bit, or blend it a little bit, like so. But anyways, the point is there. So these points would be exactly the same. Here is exactly the same. Now, of course, you want to spend time on it and like be refined, etc. Mine is quite scuffed, to be honest. In this area, in the very least. Just gonna give it a little bit of a gradient here, and that'll be it. Actually, the storm. Yeah. So the sky. Let's focus a little bit on the sky here. Here's the sky. So the sky actually, there's a bit of clouds to it, which I hadn't noticed because I had to zoom in. Is this normal layer? Is this normal layer? I think so. Okay, yeah. So the clouds, what happens if you play with opacity as well? You have a bigger gradient, if that's the case. So the clouds is actually quite desaturated, and the way you'd go about it is you just you know how you did the clouds on the bottom here, and now these clouds on top are gonna be exactly the same. Big shapes first, like so. It's mostly on the right side. There's no visible clouds where the hammer and stuff are, but you want to go soft first, and then sort of like sculpt in the edge of it, like so, with the smaller. You just make your soft brush smaller, like so, and you sort of like do the edging here, right? And of course, spend time on it. I'm gonna stop there, but generally speaking, there's a little. It's a bit more desaturated here to show that there's a bit more. There's probably light far away from here too. Again, big brush first, and then you just make your soft brush smaller, like so. This is good enough. And now the thunder, we can actually go back to the double that we were doing, which is linear dodge, layer, and color dodge, brush. And then let me look closely. I believe he did, yeah, it looks like he did okay, there's two things he has done actually. Number one, he drew where the thunder would come out. So with the lasso tool, actually, it seems like he just went around and did like a couple of shapes like this, hid the selection, and sort of just did that very gently. Can you tell that? So like the selection is still in there, but you just sort of like did that. You can tell in there, right? So a little bit of this, and then he just generally is just that all over the place, like this here. There you go, right? And add a little bit of glow overall. By the way, I deselected. I don't have a selection anymore, so I deselected, and I'm just sort of giving it a little bit of glow where the thunder would be. And now for the actual thunder, we're gonna go double, color dodge, linear dodge, layer, and then color dodge, brush, and do the thunder. So let's say thunder is gonna come from here, right? It's like blah, 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 and then blah, 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 right? And now we're gonna go over the areas where, you know how with thunder there's always like these areas that are a bit like brighter, usually around the edges. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna make my brush bigger, and I'm sort of like gonna go around and do that over, you know. It's still on the same layer. Yeah, it seems like that has been the case. I am brushing through it, so it's always going to be more scuffed. So sort of like this. It might actually need to be a bit brighter. Can I use color dodge and brighten the whole thing up? No. Wait, no, that was... Can I? Does this work? I guess a little bit. I don't want to do it that way though. There you go. Just sort of like you want to be patient with it and just go around and do it that way. Easy clap. He also lost the stuff in the backgrounds. I seen him do both ways, honestly. It's just, it can be different every single time. And then you can add smaller ones, like coming here. Oh, that's a bit too bright though. There you go. Smaller ones here, and then you have bigger ones here, right? Going over like that. And then you do exactly the same. Always with a brighter color too, just to make it easier. By the way, subs, by the end of the season 2, subs will have the PSD for these. I'm keeping all the layers and stuff for it. So that's a new thing for season 2, is you guys get the PSDs from this keeping. I'll try to keep all of the layers as much as possible. There you go. And yeah, it's pretty much just that, like over and over and over again, right? And then the final details is, I believe it's the same. He's just sort of like gives a color dodge layer, and he just goes around with a soft brush and sort of like do this sort of motion like this, but really quickly. Just sort of like wait, it should be above everything. There you go. Where you have all these little thingies. You want to keep in mind the size. You don't vary the size of your brush, right? And the intensity of your pressure, because you know, otherwise there's some here actually. I'll use the same layer because why not? But yeah, like just be sensible with it. So you can have a few small ones, you can have a few like thinner, more elongated particles. Try not to keep the particles exactly the same, and by doing this you're giving it a little bit of a movement, right? By making it angled and not just dots on the screen, it shows that there's movement to it. I feel like this should be a bit... Oh yeah, and then there's like, obviously this is where the effect is, so I'm painting without the effect, but I'll just add the glow if you really want to see how it would look like. It's pretty close. Of course the hammer would be in front of this glow, etc., but I think there's a little bit of a glow here and here too. But that is it. That concludes this question, how to do this kind of background.